Monday, the 28th day of Adar, corresponding to the 24th day of March 2020. We say thank you, Tiskula Mizvot, to the Lighthouse Torah Project, as well as iTorah.com for broadcasting live this class. A reminder that for our audience that speaks and understands Spanish, Ba'ezat Hashem, we are going to have a live class in Spanish via iTorah.com and perhaps the Lighthouse Torah Project at approximately 11:30 Miami time. Clase en español hoy en directo, comenzando a las 11:30 de la mañana, horario de Miami, Be'ezat Hashem. We begin the class by wishing a hearty Mazel Tov to Yosef and Shoshana Cohen, that in a few minutes they are going to be entering the newborn baby boy to the Berit Milah of Avraham Avinu. That for all the things that are going on, the Milah will be done in a very reduced group of people, not even a minyan, I believe, but nevertheless, the Zechut of Avraham Avinu and the Zechut of Eliyahu Navi, Be'ezat Hashem, will help this child to be raised in the beautiful ways of Torah, Mizvot, and Ma'asim Tovim. And perhaps, who knows, maybe Eliyahu Navi is coming to Aventura in an hour from now, and if I see him, I'll let him know that we are eagerly waiting for his arrival, and Be'ezat Hashem will be the beginning of the Yeshua, which, guess what? Tomorrow night it is going to be Rosh Chodesh Nisan Hava Alenu Letova, one of the highest, if not one of the most fundamental months of the Jewish calendar, as the Gemara and the Midrash and many other sources tells us, Benisan Nigalu Ubenisan Atidim Ligael. Like we were redeemed in the month of Nisan, also the redemption will come in the month of Nisan. But if Borei Olam has his own secret and master plan and wants to send the Yeshua now, I think that no one will say no completely. The opposite, as the Pasuk writes, Teshuat Hashem ke'eref ayin, the redemption of the Almighty, it's like the blink of an eye. Tomorrow, by the suggestion of the Gedolei Israel, from the great Hachamim of Eretz Israel, from the Sephardic, Ashkenazic, Yeshivish, and Hasidic, based on the letter that I saw from the Chief Rabbinate of Israel a few moments ago, that tomorrow it is a suggested day for Ta'anit. Now, the concept of Ta'anit tomorrow, Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, the great Ramak that we love so much, and the Kahal knows that we are a fan of the beautiful Sefer known as Tomer Devorah, which I believe that today we are going to be reading some messages of the great rabbi, and the reason is why is simply this Tomer Devorah book, it's read and learned throughout the entire month of Elul. But if you remember last week, we had a special prayer broadcasted live via iTorah.com. Last Sunday, we had Selihot broadcasted live by iTorah.com. So in my mind, if 2 days in a row, basically, last week and this week, we said Selihot, so for us, we are in the month of Elul. So in a few moments, Be'ezat Hashem, by the suggestion of someone of the class, Be'ezat Hashem, we're going to share some powerful messages of Rabbi Moshe Cordovero. But Rabbi Moshe Cordovero says that the day, Erev Rosh Chodesh, it's called Yom Kippur Katan. This is considered a miniature Yom Kippur. And the Sebara, it makes sense. Why? Since Rosh Chodesh is the beginning of the month, meaning to say that every time the new Jewish month arrives into our life, it's like a new chapter in our life. It's like a new lease in our life. Maybe not a lease, because we get a lease every day of our life, the day that we wake up, etc., every day that we wake up, Baruch Hashem. But you understand what I'm trying to say. Borei Olam, with Rosh Chodesh, says, you know what? Let's close the chapter and let's open up a new chapter in our life. I received a very interesting document earlier today talking about the great Hida, Rabbeinu Haim Yosef David Azulai, known as the Hida HaKadosh. This was the great rabbi that after being buried in Livorno for almost 150 years, 150 years later, his remains were brought to Eretz Israel. And he's the great rabbi that his bones were shaking inside of the coffin, and eventually he was buried in Har HaMenuchot. And one of the three Hachamim that were involved in his burial was the great former chief rabbi, or I shouldn't say former, but honorable chief rabbi of Israel, Hacham Mordechai Eliyahu, Zichrono Livracha. He was one of the three Hachamim that was involved with the burial of the Hida HaKadosh in Har HaMenuchot. If you go to Har HaMenuchot, which some people may go today or tomorrow to pray in the Kevarim of the Tzaddikim, if you happen to be in Yerushalayim, Eir HaKodesh, and don't break any rule to go to the cemetery, at least in Israel, maybe quarantine and whatever rules and regulations they have, definitely you'll see that the Hida and Rab Mordechai Eliyahu Aleim Shalom are buried next to each other in Har HaMenuchot. But why do I bring a Hida? So I read in this article earlier tonight, or earlier today, that the Hida, when he arrived to Italy, he was placed in quarantine because there was a plague, I believe in the late 1700s or early 1800s. And during the moment of quarantine, what did he do? He wrote a set of books called Shem HaGedolim. If I believe this book deals with biographies of Talmidei Hachamim. And how did he write this book? By heart. He memorized and he knew the brief biography of thousands. I think there were 1,500 or close to 2,000 Hachamim mentioned in the Shem HaGedolim. And this sefer, or this set of books, were written during the moment of the Hida's quarantine, close to 200 years ago, even a bit more. So what do we understand from this? That the moment of quarantine, or the moment of being at home, or hunker down the way the politicians are saying it now, is an opportunity for us to think, to talk, to converse, to do things that perhaps we put in the back burner. And I'm not talking only about cleaning for Pesach or making a barbecue. Like people share with me, things that they are doing at home. So I tell you what I got yesterday. Rabbi, I'm making a barbecue. Beautiful. Rabbi, I'm cleaning for Pesach. Beautiful. Phone calls of many wonderful members of our Kahal asking, Rabbi, my last Pesach was 12 years ago. My last Pesach at home was 10 years ago. How am I going to survive? How do I kasherize things? Which product is permissible? So, I feel like I'm in the medical insurance, a field that people call the customer service for answer, which is beautiful, because at the end of the day, there is a concept that Moshe Rabbeinu shared with Am Israel, as the Pasuk says, Lada'at et ha'ma'aseh asher ya'asun. Don't feel uncomfortable. Contact all the Hachamim, wherever you may be watching from. Don't be shy of asking questions. This is exactly what Pesach is all about. The questions of Pesach are not only on the Manishtana, but the questions of Pesach precede Pesach. How long do they precede Pesach? According to the Gemara, Sheloshim Yom. 30 days inside of Pesach, then we are in Pesach mode. So we're going to put Pesach on hold for a day or so. And Be'ezat Hashem, Thursday morning, God willing, with the arrival of Rosh Chodesh Nisan, Haba Aleinu Letovah, we'll take a dive into the celebration of Pesach. So let's go back to the great Rabbi Moshe Cordovero. Rabbi Moshe Cordovero says that the day of Rosh Chodesh, or Erev Rosh Chodesh, it's known as Yom Kippur Katan. Later on, Be'ezat Hashem, we are going to be sending an email to the Kahal Kadosh with all the Be'ezat Hashem, with all the halachic times required for the Ta'anit. But I'll tell you the basic guidelines. Number one, this is not a mandatory fast day. This is a suggested fast day by our Hachamim in order to show Borei Olam our understanding that we are listening to his message and we are waking up and we are looking to do teshuvah. Needless to say, a person under the weather, pregnant ladies, nursing, of anybody who feels weak, or anybody who simply says, you know what, I don't want to do this ta'anit, there is no any a problem whatsoever. As I said in the beginning of the class, this is only a suggested ta'anit. But the basic halachot of a ta'anit yahid are as follows. First of all, you take upon yourself the ta'anit in minha today. When you do minha today, at the end of the Amidah, and this prayer is found in many Siddurim, but if you don't have that accessible to you, just have in mind that God willing, you're planning to take upon yourself the ta'anit. Now, how long the ta'anit? So you have a few options. Number one, ta'anit begins with dawn. Dawn is alot shahar, and as I said earlier, we are going to be sharing an email to all of our recipients of the class via email and via WhatsApp, as we do daily, with all the proper times in Miami. For those that are outside of Miami, please check myzemanim.com or your synagogue's website for the daily Zemanim, and then you will be able to plan accordingly. So the ta'anit begins by alot shahar. That means basically like an hour and a quarter, give or take, like 72, 75 minutes before sunrise. Now, there are two options of the ta'anit. One opinion says, do the ta'anit all the way till the evening. Other opinion says, you can do up to hasot, midday, which midday means the halachic midday. For those doing the half a day or the full day, remember to say the added paragraph of Anenu in the Amidah. Now, I repeat, this is an optional ta'anit. This is a ta'anit suggested by our holy rabbis from Eretz Israel in a collective statement to attempt to reverse this challenging decree that is hovering upon all of Am Israel, especially Am Israel, but although it affects the world, but Am Israel always is in the driver's seat to bring the salvation and the solution to the world's problems. This is not a mind statement. Actually, the Pasuk says in the Perashah, Bitem li segula mikol ha'amim, be'atem tiyu li mamlechet kohanim begoy kadosh, beni bechori Israel. These are different verses that tells us that we need to make sure that the world functions in the way that God intended for it to be so. One area that regretfully it's increasing in the challenges, and I'm not even talking about Pesach in Florida. I'm sure you read the governor's ruling yesterday evening that those coming to Florida from the New York, New Jersey area, they have a mandatory quarantine of 14 days. So we respectfully ask those planning to come that perhaps don't come. And this is based on Hatzalah rules, based on the Rabbinical Board of South Florida, and now the state of Florida, plus Agudat Israel, the RCA, RAA, and many wonderful Torah-oriented institutions that came out with a ruling yesterday, respectfully asking the Kahal to activate the pasuk that says, Ashre Yosheve Betecha. Fortunate is the one who stays at home. So don't take this in a negative way, Haz v'Shalom, but we're saying it not only to protect those that are here, but actually to protect those that may be surrounding you during the holiday. I know that is very, very difficult. As Am Israel, we always celebrate Pesach with family and friends, and we invite guests for the meals. But regretfully, as of now, we need to activate all the precautionary measures given by the CDC and each state, wherever the person may live. But I will tell you one thing that I am getting a lot of phone calls about. And I'm not saying this with happiness and joy, completely the opposite, with a bit of a concern. The concept of Shalom Bait. The concept of Shalom Bait, that in some situations, has Shalom, it's escalating in a very challenging way. So somebody called me about this yesterday and the day before and even earlier today. And the bottom line is that at this moment, we all are being tested. We are all being tested by Akadosh Baruch Hu. Who are we? Are we the one that shows on the street, or are we the one that is showing at home? What I'm trying to say, let's open up the first chapter of Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, Tomer Devorah. This was a sefer written, I believe, over 500 years ago. Rabbi Moshe Cordovero was the great tzaddik prior to Rabbeinu Ha'ari. Actually, when Rabbi Moshe Cordovero passed away, Rabbeinu Ha'ari was the one who was given the honor to be the leaders of the great Hachamim in the city of Sfat. So let's read together just a couple of sentences from the first chapter of Tomer Devorah, which, as the Deir Haim of Sanz writes, that there is a segula, a great spiritual amulet to learn from the Sefer Tomer Devorah, and it says that whoever studies from this Sefer will not be afflicted by the well-known disease Has v'Shalom, which today we can also throw in this particular condition. So let's read at least the first sentence, and then the end of the first chapter, which I think that will provide us some message of what should be our actions in these days. Perek Aleph, Ha'adam ra'ui sheidame lekono. It is proper for a person to emulate the Creator. This is it. Now, what does this mean? So for that, we're going to read from the Shalah HaKadosh, and it says as follows. Aleph, Tahat HaTomer, and it says that this is mentioned in our Torah. Although it's debatable if this is considered one of the 613 mitzvot of the Torah, and one of these mitzvot can be read in the Torah, Lalechet bidrachav, to walk in the footsteps of the Almighty, or Lalechet bechol derachav, which are similar pesukim, both of them in Sefer Devarim. And it says that the idea is not that I emulate God because it's a commandment from the Torah, but Has v'Shalom. The idea is that a person needs to activate this sentence as a way of life. Why? Ki b'tzelem Elokim bara et ha'adam. The person was created in the image of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I said this many years or many months ago, but I repeat it again today. A person, as the Tomer Devorah explains, has two sides. The side that we see in the physical world, and the side that is being seen in the heavenly realms. There is the emet, there is the potential, and here we see what's available to be seen. And the Pasuk writes that this is the person's way, that ra'ui la'asot ken. it says it's not an option. It says the commentary on the Tomer Deborah. The opposite. It says, what does it mean to imitate or to emulate HaKadosh Baruch Hu? להידבק במידותיו של הקדוש ברוך הוא. Connect yourself to the attributes of Hashem. There is a famous concept in the Torah that we read not long ago, Perashah Ki Tisa, Yod Gimal Midot Harahamim. And this is part of our daily prayers. After we say Anna, we say Baya'avor. From this Wednesday afternoon, we are going to be saying Yehishem for an entire month. So it's good that we're learning this. What are the Yod Gimal Midot Harahamim? The 13 attributes of mercy. Amonai, Amonai, Kel, Rahum, Behanun, Erech Apayim. I'm talking to a knowledgeable audience, so we don't have to go through each and every one of them. To be compassionate, to be merciful, to be slow to anger, to have self-control, etc. And these are, it says, אצל התומר, הם מידותיו של הקדוש ברוך הוא. This is how הקדוש ברוך הוא functions. שידמה במידותיו במחשבה, דיבור ומעשה. This is a fascinating hidush. And it says, how, you may ask yourself, Rabbi, how can I imitate God? So first of all, we understand that no human can be godly to the sense of that we're going to act like God. Let me paraphrase that. In our limited fashion, we need to make our best effort to act in a godly way. B'mahashava, in the way we think, dibur, in the way we speak, uma'aseh, and the way we conduct ourselves. I'm going to continue. He brings here different sources from the Rambam, Sefer HaYesirah, and many other sources, but I'm going to skip all those, but I'd like to concentrate in the first message. In the first message of Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, it says, and I'm going to read in Hebrew first, and then we'll translate for everybody's understanding. And it says at the end of the first chapter, Middah shesarich ha'adam leitnaheg ba, the attribute that a person must conduct themselves. Resoni, what I'm trying to say, hasablanut, the concept of being tolerant, the concept of having sablanut at home, patience. What does that mean? First, let's discuss, which is the first and second chapter of Rabbi Moshe Cordovero. It's also the concept of being patient, sablanut, forgiving and forgetting and moving on, which is all part of the Hesed that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does with us. Allow me to speak just from the heart. And I believe that this is what Rabbi Moshe Cordovero says in the full version of the first chapter, but just for expediting the class, I'll go straight to the point. Rabbi Moshe Cordovero explains that technically speaking, if we remember the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot that says, every time we do a good deed, we create a good malach. Every time we do an avon, we create a negative malach. So for the good malachim, I'm not worried. The good malachim are there. But what about the negative malachim? So it says Rabbi Moshe Cordovero that part of Hashem's kindness to the person is that when these negative malachim are created, God keeps them content. What does it mean God keeps them content? Imagine yourself, a person comes to ask for a loan. Okay, the first time the person doesn't pay it, and comes the second time, you ask for more collateral, and the person still doesn't pay it. Comes the third time, and the fourth time, and every time the person asks for a loan, what do you say to the borrower? Here is the loan. Now, I ask you a question. Do you think that these steps that I just described can function in the world of business or the world of mortgage? No. Usually they put a collateral, so in the event that you don't pay, they can collect. Guess what? Borei Olam doesn't function like that. Borei Olam doesn't say, Eneni zal mashhitim, I don't feed those that create destruction. But Borei Olam, in order to protect us, God activates his attributes of sablanut, of tolerance and patience, and it says to these negative angels created, stay here, I'll give you room and board. And through this, God protects us of not being afflicted by the sins that we commit. This is the beginning, or rather the end of the first chapter of Rabbi Moshe Cordovero. Now, as I said in the beginning of today's class, our mission is how to emulate God. So let's transfer this statement into current events, marriage at home. Husband and wife and children are at home. Now, many people may live in houses, Baruch Hashem, and you have ample space. Some people may have even a swimming pool. I'm not sure if you can go to a swimming pool or not. Check with your local doctor. We're not talking about ladies' mikveh that is sanitized in a different way. But let's talk about the people who live in a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment. And they are at home, husband, wife, and children. So all the professionals agree that a person must have a certain level of structure. Get up at a certain time, do tefillah, have breakfast, learn a few minutes, or listen to a Torah class, or learn to a shiur, go to a Zoom class, or hang out, which we're going to be doing this soon, Be'ezat Hashem. So there are strategies that we are able to activate to make the best that we can in our days. But Yetzer Hara, many times, wants to create havoc at home. The situation is already stressful. Kids don't have school. Many schools, I believe, I'm sure this is what's happening all over, they're giving online classes, or they log in remotely to do tefillah with the students, to learn with the students, to share beautiful messages of Pesach with the students. A tremendous amount of content is available today online for men, women, and children to have a certain level of spiritually productive type of day. Sleeping all day long is not the idea. Shopping online all day long is not the idea neither. I'll tell you the opposite. Today is a moment that shopping should be limited. I'm not telling you not to go to the supermarket. Again, follow your guidelines of the city, of the state, etc. So far in our city, supermarkets and medical areas and doctors and offices, I believe, are open. Most of the non-essential business, it's closed. Even restaurants. Many of them are already closed. Some of them are doing takeout, etc. So we definitely are living in a challenging moment that even from the financial perspective, we need to be careful how we spend the money. Anyways, you're not traveling anywhere, so you don't have to parade your wardrobe. You don't have to spend exorbitant amount of money in exorbitant trips, etc. So let's be more positive, and let's be more cautious. And we hope and pray, Be'ezat Hashem, that this financial and emotional challenging moment, and spiritual, obviously, that we all are experiencing, we learn how to tighten the belt a bit and do what is essential and what is necessary until Be'ezat Hashem will see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm not trying to alarm anyone, but I'm only trying to be realistic in the emet of what is going on today, which our Hachamim tell us the worst thing that we can do today is do nothing. Is believe business as usual. Guess what? There is no business as usual. The fact that thousands upon thousands of people are not praying with minyanim, students are not going to yeshivot, kolelim are not open, and all the domino spiritual side effect that is going on, so definitely God is calling out for us. So perhaps one of the lessons that we can learn how to activate in our current situation at home is to have the sablanut that Rabbi Moshe Cordovero mentions in chapter 1. So someone may say, Rabbi, I can't stand my spouse. I did not say, Haz v'shalom, it's not me, thank God. I know how to keep the distance when necessary. I'll learn. Believe me, we are all humans, but I understand that we all have the same challenge. And I hope nobody takes it the wrong way. But definitely, we are used to leave the home early, come back home late in the night or late afternoon for an hour or so, come back to shul, go back to work, etc. And now the whole seder is changed. And this is perhaps Borei Olam is telling us, whatever you are doing in the world of spirituality or in the world of business may be beautiful. But you know what? Don't forget your foundation. Don't forget your rock. Don't forget your Bet HaMikdash. You know, we talk about the building of the Mishkan, and we have spoke about this for Perashiot, Terumah, Tesaveh, Kitisa, Vayakhel, Pekudeh. 5 Perashiot, second half almost of Sefer Shemot, is all about building of the Mishkan. Perhaps God is giving us the opportunity to rebuild our private Mishkan, which, remember, that when Rosh Chodesh Nisan comes, that was the day that the Mishkan was inaugurated. Even though, as I said on Sunday or Monday, that we pass all the inspections by the 25th day of Kislev in the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, but the CO was received only in Rosh Chodesh Nisan. So maybe the next 48 hours that we have, even less, until Rosh Chodesh Nisan, we should all invest in building our own Bet HaMikdash with our wives, with our children, with whoever is by us. I'm not telling you now go invite all your family. The opposite. What are they telling us? Don't invite people. Keep your parents in their home. Grandchildren should not see grandparents, and grandparents should not leave the home to visit the grandchildren. I know that may sound a bit extreme and a bit strange, but guess what? This is the reality that we have in our life. Even if you look through the history of Am Israel, the word Magefa, which is a plague, it is not something new in our language. We have heard about it. We have read about it, especially in the Torah. The first plague in the Torah was the sin of the Egel, I believe. The second plague in the Torah was in the time of Aharon HaKohen, in the time of Korah, rather, in the time of Korah, the third time of the plague was in the time of Pinhas. So if you think for a moment, these are three moments of Jewish history that different transgressions, so to speak, prompted the plague. Now, I'm not saying that these are the reasons for the plague. I don't think that average people, like the way I am, can have that godly understanding of why the plague is happening. But the worst crime will be that we connect the plague to something physical without any godly or spiritual component. Because in our prayers, every day, in the Ashkivenu and in the Barech Alenu, in the Amidah, we make a special prayer that Hashem remove from us any plague, any pestilence, any kind of illness, etc. That's what we say in the Selihot, Maheu Maseh, Memitu Mehe, Masig min Sheol Lebare Alma. That's a very famous line in the book of Selihot. Maheh Umaseh Memitum Haye. God is the one who gives the illness. God is the one who gives the cure. God is the one who gives life. And God is the one who resurrects the dead. So we need to understand that definitely this is a godly wake-up call to all of us. Now, why this godly wake-up call? I cannot answer you. But if we take these three historical times in Jewish history, let's analyze quickly in the next few minutes that we have available. I got to go see Eliyahu Navi in a few minutes. 4 people only with distance, not to worry. B'ezrat Hashem, I'm taking the proper precautionary measures, but the family requested from me to lead with the Kiddush, etc. So I'll do it quickly and I'll come back for the next Spanish class at 11:30. What was the Egel? The Egel was Avodah Zarah, idolatry. And as we learned in the past, idolatry is not limited only to bowing down to an idol. Idolatry is whatever the person puts as a priority without the godly involvement. To some people, idolatry could be money. To some people, idolatry is anger. To some people, idolatry is the lack of observance of Shabbat. For some people, idolatry could be the lack of believing in Hashem, God forbid. Then we have Pinhas. What happened with Pinhas? Not only idolatry, but immorality, promiscuity, the situation of Baal Peor, the daughters of Moab. Again, reinforcing of Torah, Tarat HaMishpacha, reinforcement of family purity, the reinforcement of proper physical and moral behavior, the proper level of relationship, and staying away from anything that is remotely forbidden or promiscuous or immoral. And then we have Korah. What was Korah's transgression? Besides going against Moshe Rabbeinu, which going against Moshe Rabbeinu was going against God. I'll tell you the answer. Mahloket, argument. And if you look in the Hafetz Haim, when he dissects the word mahloket, the mem of mahloket is makah, a plague, an attack against people. That's what Korah did. Korah created mahloket. I ask you a question. Can we say that we are free of mahloket? Can we say that we don't argue? Can we say that when we argue, it's not Leshem Shamayim the way Shammai and Hillel, the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, tells us? Completely the opposite. Many times people argue because they cannot stand not having the final word. Some people, they are so arrogant in the way of an argument, has v'shalom, that they miss the point of what was the disagreement. And the question is, who screams louder? Who says the words against the other person? And that's why mahloket, the first letter is mem, and the last letter is tav, met, death, has v'shalom. Kahal Kadosh, you know me already for a long time, I believe. And for those who never met me before, I'm a nice fellow. And I usually try to speak in a much beautiful and positive way. But guess what? When we're dealing about pikuach nefesh, when we're dealing about matters of life and death, the way we are dealing now, God forbid, I'm scared of opening up the list of the holim for refuah shelema. Every day the list is getting longer and longer. And I'm not sharing with you no more bad news that you can find in some of the kosher websites out there. But the situation is very challenging, is very dangerous, and a very godly situation. But if we activate the powerful message of Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, and we take upon ourselves in the next 36 hours until Rosh Chodesh to try to activate the first midah of Rabbi Moshe Cordovero of sablanut, of tolerance, of patience at home, especially at home. I'm not going to say in the synagogue because regretfully most synagogues are closed. But let's try at home. Don't we say in English, charity begins at home? Now you're able to value, to the husbands I'm talking about, whatever the wife does at home. Staying at home with the children, taking care of the home, taking care of whatever a Jewish wife does at home. And then we can cooking and preparing. It doesn't mean that a husband cannot help at home, do the dishes, mop the floor, sweep the floor, do laundry, fold laundry, listen to a Torah class together, listen to nice Jewish music, etc. I know that I'm saying a lot of things that maybe I shouldn't say, but bottom line, if we show a Kadosh Baruch Hu that we make a change in our life in order to get close to Him, I have no doubts that Be'ezat Hashem, we are going to see not only the salvation from this catastrophic situation, but we're going to see the ultimate blessing for all of us. The Yeshua, the salvation and the redemption for all of Am Israel. Tizku Leshanim Rabot. Be'ezat Hashem will resume the recording at 11:30 in Spanish via Lighthouse Torah Project and via iTorah.com. And Be'ezat Hashem, I wish everybody to have a healthy and a safe day. Shalom.